Are you afraid if this worm is living in your brain? The scary thing about it is that it can enter your brain in the bloodstream. It becomes a nervous system that lives in your brain. It controls your diet, makes you lose 50 pounds. If you want to lose weight, you should consider it. This woman is parasitized by this parasite. She is an actress in order to be photogenic, dieting to lose weight. At first, she just skipped lunch. Unexpectedly, the effect is very good. She lost 3 kilograms in 3 days. Gradually, she even stopped eating breakfast. Then came dinner. When she came back to her senses, she couldn't even stand up anymore. Her whole body was so thin that only skin and bones were left. Finally, she collapsed during a movie shoot. This movie was her last chance to make a comeback. The woman's name is Michelle, already a 32-year-old actress. Since she was a child, Michelle has dreamed of becoming an actress. But it backfired to support herself. When Michelle started her career, Michelle could only do some sexy photos and some restricted films. Now a famous director has finally chosen her and cast her as the female lead. In order to get closer to the role she was playing, she had to starve herself to lose weight, and as she lost weight, now she can't eat any food except water. She went to the hospital for a checkup, but the doctor said it was just overwork and malnutrition. Resting for a while will be fine, but Michelle did not have time. There was only one last scene in the movie. The whole crew was waiting for her, so Michelle found her uncle, who was a doctor in the countryside. But the uncle is only a veterinarian specializing in animal treatment. In desperation, Michelle took out all her savings, with $200,000 to see if she could hire Blackjack to treat her. To her surprise, Blackjack really agreed. When she met Blackjack, Michelle said she only had $120,000. The remaining $80,000 was for the film. If the movie is not finished, she won't get paid. So she begged Blackjack, if her illness is really not cured, could she pay only $120,000? Blackjack said no. Must be $200,000, not a penny less, because he would cure Michelle. Blackjack told her not to think too much, just focus on healing. Then Blackjack gave Michelle a thorough examination, but whether it was endocrine organs in the digestive system and the brain CT, everything was normal. From the report, there was no reason for Michelle's anorexia. If this continues, Michelle would sooner or later die of starvation. But just when Blackjack was at his wit's end, Michelle walked down the stairs, trembling. She wanted to live. Michelle hadn't eaten in a month. She looked at the food on the table with horror. Then she struggled to put a mouthful of bread into her mouth, and then she threw up. Michelle fell to the floor in pain. She was desperate for food. Late at night, Michelle took out her jewels that she had kept for years. These rings were custom-made for her, but now she couldn't wear any of them. Then Michelle picked up the mirror. She looked at her thin face. Suddenly a red spot appeared on her forehead. Michelle ran out of the room like a madman. Then she started the car. Blackjack heard the scream, immediately jumped down from the second floor to stop it. But Michelle had lost his mind and rammed straight to Blackjack. In the moment of dodging, Blackjack saw the strange red spot on Michelle's forehead. He seemed to have seen this disease somewhere, but he couldn't remember. On the other hand, Michelle has more and more red spots. Then she fainted. The out-of-control car rolled down the hill. By the time Michelle woke up, there was an elegant white-haired man in front of her eyes. His name is Chillicothe, like Blackjack. Chillicothe is also a highly skilled, unlicensed doctor, and he charges a lot of money. But his job is not to save lives, it's to kill people. Chillicothe often euthanizes patients who are terminally ill but in pain. Of course, this is all done on a voluntary basis, so the patients who died under his care died peacefully. However, just a few days ago, Chillicothe sent one of Blackjack's patients away. So when Blackjack saw Chillicothe save Michelle, he didn't want to have too much contact with this man. Tell him to get out of here. At this point, Michelle seemed to calm down. She got up and went into the bathroom. But when she saw herself in the mirror, Michelle was completely devastated. She couldn't accept the way she looked now. She no longer had anything to live for. In desperation, she picked up the razor from the table. She tried to slit her wrists. Luckily, Blackjack arrived on time to prevent the tragedy from happening. But Michelle's condition got worse. Her body was already covered with bizarre red spots. When Blackjack was at his wit's end, the director found this place. He was worried about Michelle's health. Because the crew was waiting for Michelle to finish the final shooting, when the director saw the red spots on Michelle's body, he immediately remembered his younger sister, Katina, who died 18 years ago. Katina had the same symptoms as Michelle. Before she died, she was also extremely anorexic and had red spots all over her body. Katina and Michelle were very close friends as children. They often played together, talking about a bright future together. After Katina's death, Michelle never came back to the village. At that moment, Blackjack found a common point in the director's words. This is the village where they lived as children. With a clue, Blackjack immediately went to the village to find for clues. On the way to the village, Chillicothe caught up with him. He had seen this red spot before. Chillicothe took out a book on biological weapons. He also told him that on page 248, there was a description of the same disease as Michelle's. This virus was used as a highly toxic biological weapon during World War I. When Blackjack didn't believe him, Chillicothe came up with another compelling piece of evidence. He found out that the village where Michelle lived as a child, there are traces of buried biological weapons. After that, he left in style. Afterwards, Chillicothe came to Michelle's bedside with a bouquet of flowers, preparing to say a final goodbye to her. But Michelle, who had become so horrible, no longer had the courage to live. She begged Chillicothe to end her life. Chillicothe said it would cost a lot of money. But Michelle has no money left. Chillicothe had no choice but to turn around and leave. On the other hand, Blackjack arrived at the place Chillicothe said he was. Here he found dolls left by children, and a lot of animal bodies. This means that the original biovirus that was deep in the ground, it has spread to the surface, and Michelle and Katina should have been infected with the virus here, in order to prevent these biochemical weapons endangering innocent lives again. Blackjack completely destroyed the place. Then Blackjack started to dissect the rats infected with the virus. After a night of research, he finally found the cause of the disease in rats. The next day, Blackjack asked Michelle if she had been to the old weapons depot in the village recently. As expected, Michelle did go there and she was accidentally bitten by a rat. Now Blackjack is convinced Michelle was parasitized by a mutated parasite from the bioweapon after knowing the cause of the disease. Blackjack immediately began surgery. The location of the parasite is in the appetite center of the limbic nervous system of the brain. Originally, the parasite would not have entered the human brain because of some evil forces. They were redeveloped as biochemical weapons. And the previous CT of the brain, the reason why no mutated parasites were found, because the parasite has mimicry. Sure enough, Blackjack found the mimetic parasite in Michelle's brain. Blackjack quickly stripped it out. Looking at the writhing parasite, Blackjack had an incredible expression. In the end, the operation was a success.